There lived a man named Okonkwo, renowned for his devout spirit and bountiful blessings, and his reputation for kindness and wisdom was known throughout the southern region of Nigeria. Okonkwo's compound was a sight to behold. His wife, Nneka, was a woman of grace and strength, supporting Okonkwo in all his endeavors. Together, they raised their children, Chinwe, Uzoma, Ifeanyi, and little Adaeze, with love and strict adherence to their faith. The community revered Okonkwo for his generosity. His yam barns were never empty, for he believed in sharing his harvest with those less fortunate. His cattle grazed freely across the plains, and the sound of music often emanated from his compound. But Okonkwo's life was not without challenges. He faced them with a resolve, trusting in the wisdom of elders and the guidance of Chukwu, the supreme being. His faith was as unshakable as the iroko tree that stood at the entrance of Umunze. As the sun set on a particular fruitful harvest season, Okonkwo gathered his family and said, "We have been blessed abundantly, but we must remain humble and thankful, for it is not by our strength alone that we prosper, but by the grace bestowed upon us." Little did Okonkwo know that his faith would soon be tested in ways he could never have imagined. As the new planting season approached, Okonkwo's heart was filled with hope for another bountiful year. However, the skies above Umunze grew dark, and a great storm descended upon the village. The winds blew like ancient spirits, and rain fell in torrents, flooding the fields and washing away the seeds that had been sown with so much care. Okonkwo watched in dismay as his yam mounds were eroded by the relentless downpour. "Chukwu, why have you brought this upon us?" he cried out. Yet his voice was lost amidst the thunder. In the days that followed, a pestilence spread through Okonkwo's cattle, leaving them weak. One by one, they succumbed to the sickness, and no remedy from the village healer could save them. Okonkwo's once proud head were now reduced to mere skeleton of their former selves. The villagers began to murmur. Is Okonkwo cursed? Has he angered the gods? But Okonkwo refused to give in to despair. He gathered his family and led them in prayer, seeking solace in their unyielding faith. Despite the calamities that befell him, Okonkwo's spirit remained unbroken. He knew that his journey was one of many trials, but he held onto the belief that Chukwu would not abandon him in his hour of need. As the storm clouds cleared and a rainbow appeared across the sky, Okonkwo took it as a sign that there was still hope. With renewed determination, he set out to rebuild what had been lost, trusting that this too was a part of a greater plan. In the wake of the storm, Okonkwo's name was on the lips of every villager in Umunze. The once revered man was now the subject of hushed conversations and speculative gossip. Perhaps Okonkwo had offended the gods, some suggested, while others believed he had been bewitched by an envious neighbors. Okonkwo's friends began to distance themselves, fearing that his misfortune might be contagious. Only a few loyal kin stood by him, offering their support in time of need. Okonkwo's heart ached, not for the loss of his position, but for the loss of trust and camaraderie he once shared with his community. As if the loss of his cattle and crops were not enough, a mysterious illness befell Okonkwo's family. His children, once full of vigor, were now in their beds, their bodies racked with fever. Nneka, ever the pillar of strength, tended to them day and night, her eyes heavy with worry. Okonkwo felt a helplessness he had never known. He saw the wisdom of the village elders and offered sacrifices to appease any angered spirit. Yet nothing seemed to alleviate the suffering of his beloved family. The trials that Okonkwo faced tested not only his resolve, but also his faith. Okonkwo also fell ill as a result of depression. He contracted chickenpox. All this brought worries to his loving wife, but she attended to all of them, praying that God will answer their prayers and take away this calamity from their family. Okonkwo spent long time under the Iroko tree, praying for guidance and deliverance. His prayers were a mix of pleas and praises, for he knew that gratitude was as important as supplication. One night, as Okonkwo knelt on the damp earth, a sense of peace enveloped him. It was as if Chukwu had heard his cries and was assuring him that this tribulation would pass. With this divine reassurance, Okonkwo's faith was fortified. He rose from his knees with a clear vision of what he must do. He will not allow despair to defeat him. He will face each day with courage and hope, for Okonkwo believed that after every night comes a new dawn. The sun rose over Umunzi, casting a warm glow on Okonkwo's compound. The air was filled with the sounds of children's voices as they played in the courtyard, their sickness a mere memory. Okonkwo watched them with heart of gratitude, his faith in Chukwu stronger than ever. He walked through the fields, where the new yam tendrils reached towards the sky, promising a rich harvest. The earth had been generous, and Okonkwo knew it was a sign of better days to come. He worked tirelessly, tending to every mound with care and precision. He has also recovered from his own illness. In the evenings, Okonkwo sat with Nneka and their children, sharing stories of their ancestors and teaching them the virtues of perseverance and faith. He spoke of the trials they had faced and how they had overcome them together as a family. The community of Umunzi took notice of Okonkwo's recovery. Those who doubted him now sought for his forgiveness, and Okonkwo welcomed them with open arms. He knew that forgiveness was a path to healing, not just for him but for the entire village. With his family's health restored, Okonkwo turned his attention to rebuilding what had been lost. He called upon his neighbors, and together they set out to restore Okonkwo's farm to its former glory. The men worked side by side, clearing the fields and preparing the soil for planting. The women brought food and water, their laughter echoing through the air as they shared tales and encouraged one another. Okonkwo's barns, once empty, began to fill with yams as the community came together to support one of their own. It was a testament to the spirit of unity that existed in Umunzi, a spirit that had been strengthened by adversity. As the weeks passed, Okonkwo's farm flourished. The yams grew tall and strong, and it was clear that the harvest would be bountiful. Okonkwo's heart swelled with pride as he watched his land come back to life. The harvest season arrived in Umunzi, and it was time to reap the fruits of their labor. Okonkwo's farm yielded an abundance of yams, more than he had ever harvested before. It was a clear sign that Chukwu had blessed him once again. Okonkwo did not forget the lessons he had learned during his trials. He shared his harvest generously with those in need, ensuring that no one in Umunzi went hungry. His generosity knew no bounds, and he gave without expecting anything in return. The prosperity of Okonkwo's farm brought new life to Umunze. The market was bustling with activities as traders came from far and wide to buy Okonkwo's yams. His name was once again spoken with respect and admiration. Okonkwo's cattle also thrived, their numbers growing each day. They roamed freely across the plains, their health a stark contrast to the sickness that had once plagued them. Okonkwo's experiences had transformed him into a man of wisdom in Umunze. People from neighboring villages traveled to seek his advice on matters both great and small. He spoke to them of faith and endurance, sharing his belief that every challenge was an opportunity for growth. He encouraged them to trust in Chukwu's plan and to remain steadfast in their beliefs. Okonkwo also became a mentor to the youth of Umunze. He taught them about agriculture and stewardship of the land. He instilled in them values of hard work and community service. His words were not just spoken, they were lived. Okonkwo led by example, showing everyone what it meant to be resilient in the face of adversity. Years passed and Okonkwo grew old. His hair turned white like the egrets that flew over Umunze, and his steps became slow, but his eyes still sparkled with the wisdom of the ages. He had become an elder, a patriarch whose life story was etched into the very soul of the village. His children, now adults with families of their own, carried on his legacy. Chinwe became a healer, her knowledge of herbs and remedies unmatched. Uzoma took after his father in farming, and his yams were as prosperous as Okonkwo's own once were. Ifeanyi became a teacher, imparting wisdom to Umunze's children, while Adeze's voice graced the village gatherings with songs of hope and joy. Okonkwo spent his days watching over his grandchildren, teaching them stories of the trials he had faced and how he overcame them with faith. He taught them to respect the land and to live in harmony with their neighbors. Remember, he will say, that wealth is not measured by yams or cattle, but by the love and respect you earn from your community. Okonkwo's life drew to a close. The entire village of Umunze came to pay him respect. They spoke of how he had inspired them to face their own challenges with courage and faith. They celebrated his life, a life that had been full of both hardship and triumph. Okonkwo passed away peacefully, surrounded by his family and loved ones. His funeral was a grand affair, attended by people from all over the region. They shared stories of how Okonkwo had touched their lives, each tale a testament to his enduring spirit. The Iroko tree under which Okonkwo had prayed during his darkest times stood tall and strong, a symbol of his unbreakable faith. As the sun set on Umunze, it was clear that Okonkwo's legacy will live on for generations to come. His story, a story of resilience, faith, and community, will be told around firesides for years to come, inspiring all who heard it to believe in the power of hope.